Hello friends, welcome to another episode of I Play Games and Film It, and welcome to Free Thought Fridays! We're back at the weekend, isn't it a great feeling for everyone else? So this week I wanted to talk about privacy and the NSA and things like that. Maybe not in too much detail because there is a lot to go into. So I'm going to kind of maybe touch on the surfaces of it, just because it just seems to be a little issue. And I've always had the same ethos when it comes to privacy and being watched and things like that, and people taking track of what you're doing and so on and so forth. Because it's been an issue with things like just the surveillance and so on for quite some time. And I know that there are some people out there who just don't like being watched. I'm sure you probably would have guessed I don't mind it so much because I'm doing this. But there is one overarching thing that I've always kind of thought. Surely, if you are upset about the fact that you're being watched, doesn't that say more about maybe what you're doing than it does about the person who's watching you doing it? Now, there's an argument against that straight away, because I completely do understand that perhaps you don't want to know that someone is watching what you're doing all the time and taking notes on what you're doing all the time, because it basically means that you yourself then have to watch everything you do all the time, and that becomes something perhaps of a bit of an effort. But then if you in yourself are doing things that doesn't necessarily, suggest any bad behavior or so on, then there's no harm done in that respect. There's nothing really gone wrong. So that's the kind of the way I've seen it. Now, I've tried to think about the argument towards that, and I guess I can see why people kick up such a stink about it, because you just want to be able to live and do things with just that pure freedom of just knowing that it doesn't really matter, because no one's going to have a record of the fact that you've done that. Perhaps you do things, let's say on the internet, that you don't really want a record of. Something where you end up, let's say, in the arse end of YouTube, where you suddenly find yourself, watching weird videos from some deep part of Russia or something, and you're just suddenly going, how did I end up here? I don't want to remember that I've seen this. Can I not just remember that I've seen that? I don't remember I've seen this or been here. I don't want any recollection of it. And, the knowledge that someone is keeping track of the fact that you have been there and you have eventually kind of made it to the arse end of YouTube probably doesn't make you feel very good. I mean, I know that I have had, certainly in my days, I have those sessions on YouTube where you're just kind of clicking from link to link, you go from video to video, and then next thing you know, suddenly you find yourself watching a string of bar fights in Canada, and you probably watched about 3 or 4 before you suddenly gone, wait a minute, I was watching cute kittens a second ago. What happened all of a sudden? Why am I here? I don't want to be here, and I sure as hell don't want other people to know that I'm here. So how about we just cut this out for just a second? So yeah, no, I can get it, and I mean you can span that beyond the internet as well. The fact that there are surveillance cameras all over the place. I mean, in essence, yeah, someone can watch you leave your house, for example, go all the way into town, and throughout your trip, they will know everything that you've bought, everywhere you've been, everything you've looked at. Perhaps they've been able to read your thought processes in it. They can get a lot of what kind of fashion you like or what kind of music you listen to and so on. They're just sat there watching you. And that's, I think, a misconception in itself, because it gets the idea that there is indeed someone actually watching your every step, because it is one person probably sat across a board of screens, or certainly in front of a computer, just building notes and so on. I don't think there's necessarily a human being behind it all, actually watching every single individual person live out their life. Because that just means for every person doing something, there is another person watching them, which is preposterous. It's ridiculous. So it's a very strange subject. I think it's something very strange. Personally, I think it's very strange that people get upset about it, I'll be honest. Because I've always just thought, if you are doing something that you probably don't want people to see, probably a good idea for you not to do it, basically. It's probably something you shouldn't be doing. I know it's a bit of an odd example, but there's a car park outside the place I work at, and you need it's a top-up thing, so it's a meter, so you do have to top it up in order to keep your valid ticket and so on and so forth. And people get mad because they haven't even bought a ticket. They park there anyway. They don't buy a ticket, and they get mad because they're getting a ticket from the ticket officers, the parking officers or whatever. And I always think, like, why are you getting mad? You didn't even follow the rules. You basically have tried to get away with something you shouldn't have done. So you're getting mad because you've basically been caught doing something you shouldn't have done. You know, it's the same with people who get mad because, I know, they get caught cheating and stuff like that. It's like, well, why are you getting mad about it? Because you shouldn't have been doing it. So the fact that you're upset that someone might have been following you, or someone, you know, might be paranoid that you are cheating on them, they've busted you doing it, and you're mad at them for you know, having their suspicions about what you're doing. So that's not really very fair. And that's the kind of context I put it in. It's very much this whole idea of, you know, if you don't really like being watched, okay, fair enough. I guess in a way no one does. But you should at least have a peace of mind that if you're not doing anything wrong, then it doesn't matter that people are watching you. Because essentially what they're doing is just watching someone go by the book, do everything by the law, and not cause any trouble or not make any mistakes. I mean, if anything, it's a good thing to monitor certain activities, because these are certain activities that could lead to, you know, in the grand scheme of things like terrorism, internet bullying, just illegal activity in general, you know, theft, identity theft, stuff like that. I know I worked in a games company, an online games company, that had to had a system in which they monitored the players, so that should an incident take place, whether it was something low-key like bad language, or something high-key like threats of suicide or threats of murder or something like that, then they had the system in place to be able to go back and what everything was monitoring, and check to see any validation in the claims or in the events and so on, and just to investigate it. So actually the monitoring system played off rather well, and we weren't watching people doing good things. We weren't like sat there going, oh, this person's made it to this level, look at them, let's sit and watch that for a day. No, we were basically looking out to make sure that if someone did something wrong, we had got the evidence of what they'd done, and we can investigate it properly and make sure that we took the correct action. That's why it's there. I mean, that's always been my experience with monitoring. It's just, you know, make sure that they're doing okay. Obviously, again, on the other side of that, I can kind of see how that can go wrong, because what can happen then is you can spend so much time focusing on someone doing something wrong that you're missing someone standing directly behind you, for example, you know, pissing all over the place. And it adds some complications, I guess. It's the whole idea of a decoy, if you want. But no, overall, that's basically the way I see it. That is literally how I picture the whole surveillance and monitoring and privacy and so on. Because I don't think myself it matters to a lot of people the fact that you might have, I don't know, bought a GIMP mask online, and no one's going to throw up some alarm bells about that. However, if you buy a GIMP mask online and then rob a bank, obviously then they're going to go, well, he was wearing a GIMP mask when he was in the bank, and we've got proof that he bought a GIMP mask online. Done. Problem solved. Case closed. Yeah, let's all go to the bar and get a drink. So, yeah, I guess everyone's different. I do understand that. Everyone has their own reservations about things and their own opinion on matters. But that's mine. That's the way I see it. It's like, if you're not doing anything wrong, then don't worry about people watching you, because they probably won't be having such a great time watching you and monitoring what you're doing. So, yeah, that's it. That's the free thought I had for this week on my Friday. So, guys, if you have any responses, if you had any opinions on that, or if you had any comments to make about anything I said as well, leave a comment in the boxes below. Just let us know what you think. Let the world know what you think. Unless you don't want to, because you know that we're all monitoring you. But guys, thanks very much for watching. Subscribe, comment, click the thumb button, share with a friend, and I'll see you in another episode of I Play Games and Film It, and indeed another episode of Free Thought Fridays in a week's time, people, in a week's time. You take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye. To try to prove it to us, to cast myself